Alvyn Scolyer's association with the Bridgenorth Football Club goes back 80 years. The 95-year-old, born and bred in Bridgenorth, began playing for his beloved club back in 1945, and in fact the Scolyer family's association with this club goes right back to when it all began 100 years ago. He is a legend of this club, played over 300 games and served on the committee for 45 years. Thank you for everything, Alvyn. This is your story. Well, it's great to be with Alvyn Scolyer, who was born in 1929, which was a significant year for the Bridgenorth Football Club. It was the year they won their very first premiership. Alvyn, thank you for being part of this documentary series, because your role and the family's role, as we'll find out, was so significant to the club. What are some of your earliest memories of being at Bridgenorth? Because obviously it was a year, you were born in 29, 10 years later the war began. So I suppose it was probably a bit of a later start for you, because the club was also in recess for a period.
That's right, yeah. The club went into recess in 1934 and we reformed in 1945 just as a club, and then we started playing in 1946 competitively, and that was my first memories of the club. And we played on a paddock about a mile from my house, and
so you didn't have far to travel?
Didn't have far to travel, and we used to, about 2 weeks before the first match, we'd have to go down and pull the ferns off the ground. We couldn't cut them because it would have been dangerous, so we had to pull them and then we'd start playing.
And for those not familiar, obviously the site where we are today was not the original ground that the club played in, so describe how far maybe that was where you played to where we are today.
The first ground I played on was around about a mile away, and the present ground is a little, probably 2 kilometres from where I live. And my father helped develop the ground, and it was bush. It was original bush, and they harvested 200 tonnes of firewood off it and then turned it into a football ground.
Wow. And so much would have been done by hand back then, and just really hard labour.
And there was 6 old grey Ferguson tractors out on the ground, clearing it up, getting it ready to play football.
Amazing, amazing. So I said that your family history really goes back to the very beginning, doesn't it, with the formation of the Bridgenorth Football Club, obviously other families as well, but the Scolyers have been there really since the beginning? Right from the beginning, yeah. They was the formation members, and my uncle was the first captain and coach for 8 years, first 8 years, and there's four family members played in the first team. What were some of the stories that I guess you may have heard over the years, particularly through childhood, that some of the recollections of this club being formed and how it was formed? Yes, I know there was an article in the Examiner saying Bridgenorth was just a bush place and would never be able to maintain a football club, and we proved them wrong. And they went from strength to strength, and it was only the one team, of course. They won the flag in 1929 and was runner-up in 1928. And you started playing in around 46? After the war, and went on to play over 300 games, part of seven premierships, and fullback was your position, which you made your own. That's right, yeah. I played fullback virtually all my career,
mainly because I used to be a good drop kick, and you could only drop kick from a full-back because there was nobody on your mark.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons, and I just hated it when it was a wet day and I couldn't kick a drop kick. That was my main strength, I suppose, really.
And the players today, they wouldn't even know what a drop kick is, would they?
Actually, I think if any player uses a drop kick now, he's banned.
Yeah, I think you'd be dragged straight away onto the interchange bench.
Also, the first 2 years that we started off, we only had none of the teams were struggling for players because some hadn't returned from the war, and we played 16 aside for the first 2 years, and that made it very interesting, being 16 aside.
Absolutely.
No reserves.
And in that era, who were the big rivals of the Bridgenorth Football Club during that period when you started playing?
Our biggest rival really was Beaconsfield. I think the first four premierships we won in the consecutive premierships, I think we played Beaconsfield in every one of them.
Right.
And beat them each time. And they were a very good team, Beaconsfield, and we formed a friendship with the Beaconsfield club that went on for years and years and years. And when we'd all retired, the Beaconsfield players used to come up and one day a year and spend it here at the club rooms with us. And that was how.
Fantastic.
It was really good.
And how was it during the 40s and 50s in particular? We know what transport's like now. You could get to Beaconsfield in no time from here, probably in about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. But what was it like back then when you had to go and play away from home? I mean, how long would that take you?
None of the players, I don't think any of the players had their own vehicle. We used to travel on a bus, and we used to. The first bus was the local transport from here, and then in later years the Bert Bezel from the Exeter area, he had a school bus, and he ended up being the local politician, and he used to cart us everywhere for all our matches. And there was none of the players had their own vehicles, not that I know of.
No.
Anyway.
And your love of the club extended well beyond your playing years. You gave over 50 years to the club in a voluntary capacity. You worked on the gate for around 3 decades, and obviously the original club rooms was you were heavily involved with that as well.
Actually, I was secretary. They had the Bridgenorth. There was a Bridgenorth Football Club, and then there was another committee called the Bridgenorth Recreation Ground, and the recreation ground was responsible for building the whole club rooms as they are now, and I was the secretary most of that time.
So that's a significant period for the club then, wasn't it? That was beginning some real changes, and I guess having the facilities. Once the construction happened, I mean, how much did that mean, and how much did that help the club?
Oh, it was immense, really. When we first came onto this ground, all we had was the two dressing rooms for the two clubs, the visiting club and the local club, and toilets, of course, and that was about it. And we've just grown from there, and the club rooms as they are now, where the bar and everything is, was built mainly by voluntary labour and with working bees and all that sort of thing.
And the club's now about to celebrate its centenary. I mean, you must be extremely proud of the family's involvement, but also the evolution of the club to to where it is today, that it's not only part of the NTFA competition, but it's achieved so much success as well. It means a lot to you still, this club, doesn't it?
Very much so, yes. It's been big part of my life. And I'm so proud of the achievements of the present day committee. And when we started up, we only had 18 players. I know the coach at one game, he said we haven't got a 19th or 20th man. He said if nobody goes off the ground unless you've got a broken leg. That was we went from 18 players to now there's with 4 teams, or counting the ladies, but over 100 odd players we played. And I wouldn't like to. I couldn't name the number of players that have been through this club over my lifetime. It'd be hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, not bad for a club that's not in a township, isn't it?
No.
What do you think the secret is to being able to attract players to come here? Because, as I said, you know, we're living here. It's not a city. It's not a town. There's no shops, etc. What is it about this club?
It's amazing, really. But I really think it's the culture of the club that, right from the very beginning, Bridgenorth's never tolerated violence or any misdemeanours, you know, of any sort. Anyone that misbehaved, they were sent down the road fairly quickly. And that's been the culture of the club ever since. And
very
I think
inclusive.
Very inclusive, and I think parents are only too happy to see their boys come here and play football because they know they'll be well looked after.
And what about any lasting memories of great matches or characters even that you played against? I know, you know, Rivalries was a ground where you used to play again when they were part of the competition. I mean, anything come to mind there in terms of maybe some characters? And I guess, you know, footy was pretty hard back then.
Oh, it definitely was. Yeah, I know one story though that I've always never forgotten. This was before I was playing. Bridgenorth was playing Sidmouth down at Sidmouth back pre-war, and halfway through the third quarter, Sidmouth was 8 goals ahead of us, Bridgenorth, and then our captain, my uncle, he thought there's too many Sidmouth players on the ground, so he got the umpires to make a count, and they had 19 on the ground. So their score was wiped, and we back to 0. And then we played the rest of the match, and Sidmouth got up and beat us.
Did they?
We never ever forgot it.
No, you wouldn't.
No.
It doesn't happen that often when you get but when you get that gut feeling, you know that something's not right. But they won it fair and square in the end.
In the end, yeah.
In the end, yeah.
That was one thing that I've always remembered.
That's terrific. Well, look, Alvyn, your contribution to the Bridgenorth Football Club, you know, it is immense. I mean, you've been recognised with volunteer recognition awards for 50 years of service to the club, and I know recognised by your peers throughout not only Bridgenorth but football in general. And without the Scolyer family, who knows where this club, how it would have ended up and how it would have formed. And you've seen a lot, and I know on behalf of everyone, as we celebrate a centenary of the Bridgenorth Football Club, we thank you very much for what you've contributed to the football club. And, you know, homegrown, and you know, the legacy of the Scolyers continues.
Continues, yes. And I'd just like to pay tribute to the present president of our club, Bobby Beams. He's continuing the wonderful work, and I'm so proud of what he does and his committee, and I'm sure that they're going to go on to bigger and better things.
Well said. Well said. Thank you for being a part of it.
It's been a pleasure.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Family owned and 100% Australian operated, CNW have a great reputation of trusted and industry leading electrical products. As a very proud major sponsor of the Bridgenorth Football Club, C&W should be your first port of call for great products, great value and great service. C&W is your one-stop electrical wholesaler with a strong community focus. Call in and see them today at 40 Lindsay Street. C&W, a proud major sponsor.